Hey, how's it going, guys? So here we are back again, Python BACnet Stacks Playground. I really apologize for only being able to produce one YouTube video a week. Things have just been really busy on my side, so just kind of squeezing in this time has been kind of hard. But I know I can do it. I'm actually almost thinking about considering giving up on this theory lessons. Just some people might not even need this. I wouldn't mind a good review on computer science 101 stuff, but yeah, things are just busy. Life is busy. So anyways, maybe we could just jump right back into so where were we? We were in just using a read request to talk to a schedule object running in a device. So yeah, I apologize for the delays in creating this video content, and also it's just a work in progress too. So we previously tested out the open weather map device. All of these were found online for on BACpipes. So remember, if you go GitHub BACpipes 3, these are all samples in here. So just going to get this text a little bit bigger. So BACpipes repo up on BACpipes 3 sample applications, and we're kind of covering these two guys. Mini schedule device is running on the Raspberry Pi, and this mini device is what we modified into our app that scrapes data from the internet, and then you can see the weather data represented as BACnet objects. That was the mini device revisited, and now we're on this guy right here. And then our script is actually, we're trying to parse the data here from a schedule point in BACnet, which is a little bit different than just a typical, reading sensor present value or some kind of input-output device on an air handling unit. This is more related to the building automation system. And we were even looking on the last video how a typical weekly run schedule is represented on a building automation system, a generic weekly calendar widget. Just reference that last video. I think I brought up a Tritium Workbench, just how HVAC run schedules are set on a very generic calendar widget, which is common across all building automation systems. And then we're kind of mimicking that in Python. So we're just pretending here that the office is closed from this time, or is open at 8 a.m. and then it closes at 5 p.m. And then this is using the Python time library to kind of parse it, I think, into tuples, time tuples. So yeah, weekly run schedule, just kind of keep that in mind. And then I am just jumping right into ChatGPT and helping me parse this information just because I don't have time. And AI makes things a little bit easier. So yeah, sorry for all the AI. I was going to try and do this all myself and, parse all this out and, type and do all these videos at the same time, but I just don't have time. But I think if I just cheat a little bit, use AI a little bit more, maybe we could just get this video series done with the help of artificial intelligence. So here we go. So if you remember, these two devices are on my test bench. Let's just go to our handy dandy BACnet Discover device. So here we go. We're going to do BACnet Discover of our BACnet network. So this is my Windows machine. Remember, I have to set it for my NIC card of my Windows machine. And we're right here. We're running, this is running on a Raspberry Pi, Ben's schedule server. So this is the mini device, or the mini calendar device from the BACpipes repo. And then we just gave it that unique arg for the BACnet device. And then we're trying to read in this right here. But this tool isn't even sophisticated enough to parse all of the more like the BACnet data that comes from a schedule object, and then a calendar object, which I think is just a richer subset of a schedule object. I think this tool was only made to kind of scrape present value of sensors and inputs and outputs, and like it reads this binary value object, which is actually well, it's actually a point on the mini calendar device, but it doesn't even parse through the schedule point, which we're trying to do in Python. So like this little tool has code running behind the scenes. Who knows what library it's written in, but we're trying to mimic it. Okay, so let's just play around with ChatGPT here, and I have a feeling this course is going to turn into a just playing around with ChatGPT due to the sake of time. Okay, so where are we? Like, let's look at our code here. So here's our backpipes imports. We're still reading the same device from our test bench, which we just showed on our BACnet scan tool, and this is our arguments to run it. So our script runs very fast. Like, it only takes a second to run the script, but if you would run another scanning tool at the same time we're running this scanning tool from another machine, it would show up briefly as Ben's read app. And I think that is, remember that BACnet applications are inbound protocol based, so that's why the operating system only lets us run one BACnet application at a time. It's not like RESTful API or MQTT, which are TCP outbound, I think I'm saying this correctly, that you could run dozens of applications all at the same time. BACnet's a little different. Okay, so here we go. So we're doing a read request. These are the properties we're attempting to read, I guess. So this is our schedule object point, and then we're going to parse a ton of data that comes through this. So we're gonna loop through this list data structure one at a time and read request all this different stuff. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different read requests are going to fire for looping through all these loops for the property. For property in read requests, we're going to fire all these, and then parse all this information. Okay, so I tested this once, so let's do it again. Ooh, a lot of stuff. Okay, so our script takes about a second to run, but it's actually parsing, it's giving more backpipes objects with more data inside of it that we would have to see the contents inside. So let's ask ChatGPT to get us a richer subset of context. So like if you look in here, this is like these things are a class, object-oriented programming, a class in BACnet, so like, or in Python. So these are just more backpipes data types, like, or a subset of data. Like we have to parse all this information. So like we need to read a lot more. Okay, so let's just feed our code back into ChatGPT, and I ask it to get another. Can you enhance again for more rich subset of the data, please? All right, so AI is going to enhance our script. Some people say like you can't teach a class because you're using AI to do all of it, but I kind of disagree because the future of coding might be all AI based, so we're kind of learning a few things at the same time. Okay, so ChatGPT is giving us, these are all of our properties that we're requesting from this one BACnet point. Only this one point, we're requesting all these different properties, read properties. In addition to present value, Remember, present value is what we get. We commonly see this 99% of the time. Some sensor or damper or valve or something has the present value of a sensor reading, but when we're dealing with schedule objects and calendar objects, it goes way beyond that. So look at all this parsing that we're doing. Lots of parsing. And then backpipes, on way behind the scenes in backpipes, it's actually doing a ton more parsing already. So like it's looking at bytes on the wire and then processing all of this bytes to useful information, where we see it up the tool chain in our little read request app. So it's like tons and tons of parsing going on here. So let's check it out. Ooh, okay, so like we're getting more rich. So this is what I wanted to see. Parsed weekly values. Some of this is just kind of bogus. So maybe we could just reading raw property value is okay. So I think like this is what we should do. I'm going to tell ChatGPT to just hide all the junk, so we don't really need to see all this stuff. So it looks like there is even a calendar reference. All right, so let's let's feed this all back into ChatGPT. Hide all the junk and only show the good, useful data. It is looking great. Okay, well, ChatGPT processes all this. I might even bring up the just the Niagara building automation thing again. I think it's worth kind of chatting about this. Hit the button on you. All right, so I'm also bringing up Workbench here just to dial back in and just to show. I think this makes more sense, like when you're looking at building automation, like a kind of a typical building automation representation of a schedule object, this Python representation might make a little bit more sense. Oh, the good times of AI. Okay, let's hit the copy button. Sorry if this text is not very... Some people have said in the comments that the text is too small. So I'm trying to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, let's try our read request app again. All right, I think we have some nice useful data here. This is cool. Wow. So this should take me the better part of half a day to do all this, what we did in 5 minutes with ChatGPT. So here we go. So like the current value for the schedule is a 1 or true. The default value is a 0 or unoccupied. The name of the schedule is office hour schedule. So if we look at, maybe I'll just flip back to mini calendar device. So if let's see if we can find this data. So on the online here, so like an unoccupied value is a 0, an occupied value is a 1, and if the date and the time is set properly on the Raspberry Pi running this, we would be occupied right here because it is 11:30 in the morning. So this would indicate that the office is open. The only thing I don't see here when we print all of this data is the name of this. Let's see if I can just copy that and find it in our script. Backpipes. So I'm just going to do Control F. Oh yeah, look at that. Okay, so this is the, so when we define our schedule object in our backpipe server that's running this, this is our object name. So it's not too much different than when we ran this for our weather, our web weather device. Like, we defined our point names and our point types, and then we were just naming outside air, web weather, dry bulb, web weather, relative humidity, dew point. So this is just a point name for office hours schedule, and then our script was reading that value back to us. So this is running in the Raspberry Pi, and then we read it back. That's the name of the script. Cool. Lots of interesting things. So there's lots of complicated BACnet, how BACnet defines date and times going on behind the scenes that I think you could just do some more research yourself. I'm not going to get too deep into a calendar object, but I think that this is just a richer subset of the schedule object. Okay, so it did find that our office opens at 8 a.m. and closes at 5. Nothing on weekends. And then we have an exception schedule, which is our calendar object referencing it. So pretty cool. I think this is really neat and actually kind of complex going on behind the scenes. And to be honest with you, I've never played around with this a whole lot. If it's running in the building automation system, it's doing that all behind the scenes, and the building automation technician doesn't even need to know about it. Okay, so this is Workbench. This is the Tritium building automation tool. And then I just wanted to say one more thing about this. So I'm just in the optimal start block, which has a calendar widget. So every building automation system, usually through some kind of GUI, has like a calendar. This is the weekly calendar that when we were looking at our backpipes code, how we were looking at Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, nothing on weekends. Default value is a 1 or a 0. So this is the same thing. Our default value is this is a Boolean schedule in Tritium, so a true or a false. This is how the building operator, they would run their HVAC by setting a little schedule like this, and hopefully that makes sense. So a GUI is how the building operator defines their equipment run schedule, and then I don't even know this, but if Tritium then filters this down into a BACnet object, they would programmatically have their app as the building operator does this kind of things and saves his run schedule or hers run schedule. Behind the scenes, it would be programmatically linked to the GUI, adjusting all this stuff. And then you would see that be reflecting in BACnet. And then also, so this is the weekly run schedule, which would be most similar to, jumping all over the point, our schedule point. So the weekly run calendar would be most similar to lots of complex parsing going on here. Our schedule point, that would be most identical to that. And then our calendar object, this would be most similar to on the building automation system, which is probably pretty common to all building automation systems. You can input date ranges. So like if you wanted to add, let's say Christmas break, you would add in like a specific time period that, like, don't run the HVAC on January 20 or December 24th, maybe through the 26th, because no one will be at the office. So to save energy, blah, blah, blah. So like this is where you would do this on a common building automation system, which they all typically have. And in BACnet and back pipes, that is what this represents. So I think I might close this down as our lessons right here. So maybe we'll just kind of call it good actually on the Vibe Code 4 app. And then I think on the Vibe Code 5 app, we should probably do a point discover in BACnet. So like it would be kind of like this. We would be, so if we do a point discover in BACnet, we're gonna read we're just going to read in the device, and we're going to request from the device not a schedule, not a present value, but an object list. And then there's going to be a ton more data to parse on. Get all this, and then hopefully ChatGPT is going to kind of help us very fast at parsing all of this useful data. So really neat. So it's ChatGPT did a really good job here at grabbing all of the data out of these backpipes objects, I'm just going to call it, and then putting together like very useful little print logs here. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm not even sure if all building automation systems have schedule objects too, and calendar objects. They all will have some kind of calendar scheduling widget, generic weekly run schedules for mechanical equipment, but it may not be a BACnet object. So that might be some extra feature that the building automation technician would have to set up. So just keep that in mind. In Tritium, I am pretty sure that I would have to do something special extra to have it exported, the run schedule, as a BACnet object. But there's might be some control systems that have that, just baked in behind the scenes. So just be aware of that. So, all right. So the next Vibe Code app will be that'll be an object discovery. And I'm sorry, guys. Just like with being too busy, I just don't have time to go through the lessons and do our AI generated course content for computer science. So like if anyone wants to do this, you'd say you're a controls technician and you want to do a little of the computer science theory, I highly recommend it. That this will only make you a better programmer, a better person, doing this kind of work in the field. I've recorded several videos too that do a LinkedIn certification, do the edX one that I pointed out previously. I have it on my LinkedIn certificate, and it's a great base to kind of build off of. So like have that as kind of my computer science 101 plaque, if you want to call it, and then I'm kind of getting into more software engineering concepts. So other people can get into analyst work or IoT work, databases, IT, machine learning, data science. So there's all subsets that you can gravitate towards. So highly recommend it. And until next time, I'll update this code, and then we'll keep on building off of Vibe Code apps. And I just want to say also, not to keep apologizing here, but just like how I've just been morphing this on the fly, mostly because I've never taught a class before, and I've been kind of appreciating like teachers that put together a curriculum, and then they have to hit that curriculum every day for a whole semester or something like that. Like, wow, that's a lot of hard work. I never realized how hard that was. So hats off to you teachers. So let's get into, okay, so just to make sure we're inside. We did the weather app. We're still here in the calendar. So let's get into a point discover, and then maybe do a little bit of something with COV. I think that's a really important concept to cover in BACnet as well. And I honestly don't play around with that very much in backpipes at all. And then I also think we should introduce a little bit of Wireshark, and then also some of the, let's see, Wireshark, a little bit, maybe some Linux stuff too, for running apps like on Docker or systemd long term. And then also I want to cover this. This is the new kid on the block. Justin Scott has created a complete Rust driven BACnet stack. So this is pretty cool. This is the, brand new. And we even have a Python API. So like, I think would be really cool is to go back through each one of our apps that we did in BAC0 and BACpipes in Rusty BACnet, which has a Python API. And we could compare it all too. So we could compare BACpipes versus BAC0 versus Rusty BACnet. So cool stuff coming. I just apologize again that this coursework is adjusting on the fly, and I just don't have time to do a video every day, which I always wanted to do the computer science coursework. So please continue that if it's interesting to you, and if you're a newbie in programming, it's very helpful. So until next time, guys, thanks for following along. This is all for this week. Look forward to Vibecode App 5, which will be the BACnet point discovery processes. So, all right, until then, have a great day.